Brothers and sisters, welcome. Today, let's talk about drones. All of America is talking about them, so we might as well too. I came across this interesting story in the Daily Mail, and I wanted to start just by kind of discussing the story. Trump is saying shoot them down. Here's a story in the Daily Mail from December 14th. Today's the 15th, so it was just yesterday. And so Trump demands mystery drones to be eliminated as Americans flood hotlines to report swarms of devices over U.S. military bases amid fears they're being sent from a hostile mothership offshore. So, wow, there's a hostile mothership. So it's like something right out of Independence Day. So is this something we should be worried about? Let's look at it. America was in the grip of drone hysteria last night as Donald Trump urged President Biden to shoot them down. Scores of mystery drones have been spotted hovering over cities and military bases in New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Virginia, and California, with worried residents reporting that swarms of up to 50 drones were flying overhead. Wow, this is huge. This is in a British newspaper. It's crazy. New Jersey authorities said more than 3,000 frightened residents had flooded an emergency hotline in 48 hours amid fears the drones could be under the control of hostile foreign powers, possibly China or Russia. I mean, it's like something out of War of the Worlds, not just Independence Day. Last night, U.S. President-elect Mr. Trump called for urgent action, taking to the Truth Social platform to say mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know and now, otherwise shoot them down. I sort of agree with him a little bit on this. America's Federal Aviation Administration issued temporary flight restrictions over military bases in Virginia and Pennsylvania, as well as around Mr. Trump's golf course. See, now it's serious. This is why he's talking about it in Bedminster. This is what caught his attention. The drones are flying over his golf course, and I can understand that, where giant drones flashing green and red lights were spotted last week. But it's a little concerning that the FAA is issuing temporary flight restrictions over military bases in Virginia. I would have thought, civilian aircraft aren't allowed to fly over military bases anyway. But hey, who am I? I don't know. I'm not a pilot, so maybe they can if they're flying high enough, like they're a commercial airliner and they're really high up. I don't know. So somebody in the comments tell me about air restrictions around military bases. Some of the objects have been said to be as large as a car, while New Jersey police reported the drones were unlike anything we have seen before, failing to emit either heat or sound, making them undetectable for radar. An Iranian ship was said to have been spotted off New Jersey shore days before the first drone sighting was reported on November 18th. Congressman Jeff Van Drew said the drones were coming from a hostile mothership offshore, saying it could be hundreds of miles out to sea. These types of drones can go greater distances. And see, here's Trump watching for the drones. It's crazy. I guess here's some pictures of some of the drones, these dots that are in the middle of this picture. It's a nice shot. They're all lined up in a row. New York governor slammed the Biden administration's bumbling response to the drone crisis sweeping the East Coast, telling the White House the bizarre episode has gone too far. Yeah, I saw they even had to close down some airports in New York because drones were too close and were a hazard to the flights. So it's really out of hand, whatever's going on. It is true. Could it be China? Absolutely. Iran is a definite possibility, Mr. Van Drew added. The Pentagon does not know what these drones are or where they're coming from. I have highly credible sources who believe Iran could have a ship off the coast. We are not being told the truth. They are treating the American public like we are stupid. One thing I'm not sure I agree with here is the Pentagon does not know what these drones are. I think they do. So let's just be honest here. I think the Pentagon knows all about these drones. The U.S. Coast Guard confirmed that 13 drones followed one of its boats on Thursday night. Sheriff Michael Mastronardi from Ocean County, New Jersey, said his officer spotted 50 of them coming off the Atlantic and called 911, which sent a Coast Guard cutter to investigate. Americans have taken to social media with one Facebook page, Mystery Drones, Let's Solve It, amassing 55,000 members. This is huge. Some believe the drones are American-made nuclear fallout detectors, with others claiming they've spotted them squirting liquid, prompting fears of a mass poisoning event. Yeah, this is kind of like the chemtrails thing. Others think that the drones are the start of an alien invasion. Yeah, Independence Day, the War of the Worlds. The White House has tried to quell the growing hysteria, with National Security spokesman John Kirby denying nefarious foreign meddling could be at play. But fears continue to grow. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan filmed dozens of large drones above his house. I personally witnessed and videoed what appeared to be dozens of large drones above my residence in Davidson, Maryland, 25 miles from the Capitol. He added, the public is growing increasingly concerned and frustrated with the complete lack of transparency and dismissive attitude of the federal government. We know these drones have been going on for a while, and not just in the U.S. Here's a picture of an Air Force base, Stewart Airfield, to shut down its airspace for over an hour Friday, releasing a statement the feds must step up. There's something crazy going on right now. Late last month, U.S. Air Force confirmed unidentified drones were spotted over 4 U.S. air bases in the U.K. RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, Feltwell, and Fairford. UK defense sources told the BBC that suspicion had fallen on a state actor being responsible for the incursions. In October, the Wall Street Journal reported the mysterious drones were seen for 17 days near U.S. military facilities. The FBI has urged residents not to shoot down the drones for fear falling debris could hurt or kill someone on the ground. A California man was charged last Tuesday with flying a drone over and taking pictures of Vandenberg Space Force Base near Santa Barbara. The man, a 39-year-old Chinese national, Yin Pao Zhao, was arrested before he boarded a flight to China. Last night, the White House and the FBI declined to comment. So I think there's a lot to unpack here with the drones. It's kind of crazy, but a couple more stories. Here they mentioned in the UK this is going on. RAF Mildenhall and Lakenheath, Feltwell. That's what actually caught my attention, because little known fact over here on my desktop is a picture of RAF Lakenheath taken off of Google, and that's where I used to live. So that was my house, and that was my elementary school back in the 70s. So I've actually been to RAF Lakenheath and spent quite a few years there. And they're still flying F-15s out of there now. That's the picture in the bottom. But we're really talking about drones. Again, just like Trump got interested in this, I'm sure, because they were flying over his Bedminster golf course. I got interested because they're flying them over my old school and my old house. It's crazy. So let's look a little bit more at them talking about what's going on in the UK. So according to the Defense Co-op, US and UK jointly tracking mysterious drone incursions near England military bases. So far, there's been no associated operational or safety impacts to our troops on the ground there, officials confirmed. U.S. and UK military have been actively monitoring installations around and airspace over Royal Air Force, Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, RAF Feltwell, and RAF Fairford. I also went to middle school in RAF Feltwell, so it feels like old times. So they were spotted near bases since November 20th, but so far there's been no associated operational safety impacts. The U.S. military are guests in England at the indication of the government of the United States. I think they meant to say the invitation. So certainly we're working very closely with authorities there. We're taking it seriously. We're monitoring and taking appropriate measures, according to Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder at a briefing. Beyond that, he and other American defense officials who spoke to Defense Scoop about the incursions this week declined to share explicit details or tactics and procedures U.S. and UK forces could apply to counter them. The first reports of these still unexplained unmanned aerial system capabilities surfaced about a week ago in notable locations where the two militaries, some of their closest allies, are jointly operating. Among the U.S. assets deployed across these bases, Lakenheath is the headquarters for the Air Force's 48th Fighter Wing, deemed the foundation of U.S. Air Force Europe's combat capability. Yeah, it's a wing of F-15 Strike Eagles. And if I remember right, I saw a story that the U.S. has decided, with everything going on in Ukraine, along with the British government, they've decided to deploy nuclear weapons back to Lakenheath and are building nuclear weapons storage facilities at Lakenheath right now. All the nuclear weapons were pulled out of the UK years ago, but now we're putting them back in. So maybe this is why the drones are flying over. The number of systems has fluctuated and they have ranged in sizes and configurations. Our units continue to monitor the airspace to ensure the safety of airbase personnel. To date, the incursions have not harmed residents, facilities, or assets of any base. So really, these two stories bring to light a couple of things. One is the mass panic that's going on in the U.S. right now in the Northeast. And really, so what's going on there? Definitely, it's our military flying those drones. Our military, our intelligence services, we know exactly where those drones are coming from. As Trump rightfully said, if we don't know about them, we should probably shoot them down. Or if we know about them, we should say something. And they don't have to say much. All they got to say is, yep, we're aware of the drones. They're part of a classified Pentagon project, and that's it. Done. They don't have to tell us about it, but that would quell a lot of these fears of Iranian ships and all this kind of nonsense that people are talking and people are getting all spun up about. But because they won't say anything, maybe there is something more sinister going on in the U.S. and that they're trying to hide. That's kind of the implication. And who knows? Maybe it is aliens since they won't say anything. But no, I don't believe that our military and intelligence services don't know what's going on in the U.S. Certain we have the capabilities to ground these drones, shoot them down, bring them down with electronics. You hear about Israel shooting drones down every day and Ukraine shooting down drones every day. So the capabilities exist. That we're not bringing them down just tells me that they do belong to us. And maybe we're testing capabilities of these drones. Maybe we're testing the ability to bring them down. The only crazy thing is, why are we doing it in New Jersey? Didn't we used to do stuff like this at Area 51 where nobody lives around? Or maybe Area 51 is too hot now with UFO enthusiasts. So do it in South Dakota. Do it in Wyoming. There's lots of places in America that don't have a lot of people. New Jersey is not that place. So that's what I think about the drones in the U.S. Now, the drones overseas are a little bit of a bigger problem. Like, I really don't like it when the drones are flying over my house. That's not a good time for Deathlock. And, it could be flying over RAF Lakenheath right now, checking out the F-15 Strike Eagles that are based there and checking out the nuclear weapons storage facilities they're building and try to assess capabilities of the base. That's definitely a concern. Maybe we have brought them down and nobody is talking about them. Or maybe we don't bring them down because the military doesn't want to share its full anti-drone capabilities with probably the Chinese. But it could be some other state act. So I think the foreign drone activity is very concerning. Because of that, I think the government really does need to make some sort of statement on what's going on with drones, both in the U.S. and overseas. And then it really is a concern. And I mentioned China. Another story just came up. This is in military.com. And this story came out December 11th. Chinese citizen arrested after allegedly flying drone and taking photos of Space Force base. So good. This is the right answer. If people are illegally flying drones over military sensitive airspace, we should capture said drone, see what its capabilities are, and we should arrest the person involved. So federal investigators arrested a 39-year-old man this week after accusing him of flying a drone and taking pictures of Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. An arrest comes amid other high-profile drone swarms at U.S. military bases. Jimpao Zhao I don't know if I said that right. I'm not Chinese. A 39-year-old Chinese citizen and U.S. resident was arrested on Monday at San Francisco International Airport on board a flight to China. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California said in a news release. He had recently returned to the U.S. from China this past February. Okay, so this guy's a spy. Let's call a spade a spade. He's a Chinese spy, 100%. So I'm hoping, since it says he's a U.S. resident, I'm hoping we cancel his student visa, green card, whatever it is, and either throw him in jail, or at the very least send him back to China, because he's a spy. The incident occurred on November 30th after detection systems at Vandenberg noticed the drone and tracked it to a public park about an hour from base. Base security arrived at the park, spoke with Zhao, and discovered he had a drone in his jacket pocket, allegedly the same one that flew over the base. Agents later searched his drone pursuant to a federal search warrant and saw several photographs of Vandenberg Space Force Base taken from an aerial viewpoint, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. Officials also said a probe of his cell phone showed Google search a month earlier of Vandenberg Space Force rules. He also allegedly messaged someone about hacking the drone to allow it to fly higher than it could otherwise. He's charged with failure to register an aircraft, not providing transportation, and violation of national defense airspace, which could lead to a maximum of 4 years in federal prison. This defendant allegedly flew a drone over a military base and took photos of the base's layout, which is against the law. United States Attorney Martin Estrada said in the news release. His arrest comes amid high-profile incidents involving drones, including recent sightings over at an Army facility in New Jersey, as well as swarms over U.S. bases overseas. Local media citing military officials reported there had been 11 confirmed drone sightings at Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey beginning in mid-November. While U.S. Rep. Jeff Van Drew claimed at a TV interview as well as social media posts on Wednesday the drones were possibly linked to missing Iranian mothership off the East Coast, the Defense Department officials strongly denied this claim. At this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity. These are the ones in the U.S. or the work of an adversary. Pentagon spokesman Sabrina Singh told reporters, at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring. Singh added that the FBI and local law enforcement were investigating the assignments. Military.com reported last month that 3 bases in the United Kingdom, Lakenheath, Mildenhall, Feltwell, all spotted drones near the installation. A spokesman for U.S. Air Force Europe told Military.com at the time drones were actively monitored. Zhao's arrest mirrors another case reported last year. The Wall Street Journal reported that in December 23, drones of an unknown origin were spotted around Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, for 17 days. The newspapers also reported that a 26-year-old Chinese citizen and U.S. graduate student was arrested a few weeks after and pleaded guilty to taking photos of classified naval installations. So I think China is definitely spying on us with drones. That's 2 Chinese nationals, both graduate students, arrested for flying drones over sensitive areas. So FBI, you really need to be monitoring all Chinese nationals, graduate students, and have contact with said graduate students, anyone, because they're definitely spying on us, 100%. And these guys need to get the book thrown at them. They need to go to jail because we need to discourage this kind of activity, and we need to be better at catching this when it's definitely a foreign actor. These people are not doing this because they wish America well. They're doing it because they're testing our capabilities in preparation for potential hostilities against America. I would take a hard look at all Chinese nationals here in the U.S. under visas. Any that are questionable, they need to be expelled. That's just how it is. Now, we haven't said anything in Britain about who's doing it in Britain. I think the British police, they're really stretched and understaffed because they're busy arresting everyone who are sending mean tweets on Twitter and Facebook. I did a story about that already. So you could take a look at that if you want. And if you like this kind of thing, like, subscribe. But definitely, foreign actors, we need to have a strong response. We need to go out and publicly say, if you fly drones over our military installations, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be put in jail for 4 years or whatever as a spy. We're going to charge you with being a spy. They need to stop the nonsense of charging you with just flying over a base. We need to actually charge you of being a spy. I think flying a drone over a military installation, that's enough. And then we need to make sure our troops and our assets have sufficient protection. So we need to keep working on anti-drone capabilities. And then maybe that's what they're doing in the US. In the US, I'm certain it's the US military flying all of these drones. There's so many, they're so big. It's definitely a state actor doing it. And I think our military knows all about it. It's time for a statement. Unfortunately, the Biden White House, the Biden administration are worried about dismantling the wall. They're worried about pardoning all kinds of criminals that really don't deserve a pardon. They're not worried about the things the American people are worried about. And that really does concern me, because if we're talking about this on the drone stuff, then what are they distracting us from? What's the real story? If they won't answer what's going on here, what are they really hiding? Because this would be very easy for the military or the Pentagon just to come out, or the White House just to come out and say, hey, yeah, there are drones. We know all about them. It's not a problem. Nothing to see here. But instead, they're keeping it secret. So there may be something else going on here, or it could just be incompetence by the Biden White House on their way out the door. I don't know. But all America's talking about it, and it's crazy that all of America is talking about this story. I wasn't even going to talk about this story until one of the drones flew over my old house in my old elementary school.